Hey Vikings Nation! If you thought the offseason was going to be quiet, think again. The Minnesota Vikings front office has been working behind the scenes making huge financial moves, and the big question every fan is asking right now is simple. How much salary cap space do the Vikings actually have? Because what happens next could completely shape the future of this team. Just a few days ago, the Vikings were staring at a massive financial problem. We're talking about being roughly $45 million over the NFL salary cap, which meant serious changes had to happen before free agency begins. But now, after a series of dramatic roster moves, restructures, and even a retirement, things are starting to look very different in Minnesota. So in today's Minnesota Vikings news update, we're breaking down every single move the Vikings made to clear cap space, how much money each decision created, and most importantly, what this means for the future of the Vikings heading into free agency. And trust me, some of these moves might surprise you. First, let's talk about one of the most emotional decisions for Vikings fans: the expected release of Aaron Jones. Reports indicate that unless a miracle trade happens, the Vikings will officially move on from the veteran running back at the start of the new league year. This move alone frees up about $7.75 million in cap space. Now, technically, if the Vikings manage to trade Jones instead of releasing him, they could save an additional $2 million, but realistically that seems unlikely. Jones is already 31 years old, and most teams know they can simply wait until he's released instead of giving up a draft pick. Still, Vikings fans know he's been an important presence both on the field and in the locker room over the last 2 seasons. With Jones likely gone, the Vikings appear ready to go younger at the running back position. That means more opportunities for Jordan Mason, who could become a key piece of the offense moving forward. And honestly, Vikings fans, this might just be the beginning of the roster shakeup. Another big move involves defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, who is also expected to be released. This decision clears roughly $11 million in cap space for the Vikings. Hargrave arrived in Minnesota with high expectations, signing a 2-year deal just last season. But things never really clicked the way the team hoped. According to Hargrave himself, the defensive system under coordinator Brian Flores may not have suited his strengths. However, that explanation didn't convince everyone, especially since Jalen Redmond managed to thrive within the same system and had an impressive season. So the Vikings front office clearly felt it was time to move in a different direction. And the changes on the defensive line didn't stop there. The Vikings are also reportedly releasing former Pro Bowl defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, freeing up around $6.5 million in cap space. Allen actually played a lot of snaps last season, leading the defensive tackle group in playing time. But while he contributed, the Vikings were expecting more impact, especially as a pass rusher. Unfortunately, his struggles against the run and inconsistent tackling became too big to ignore. What makes this move even more painful financially is that the Vikings will absorb around $17 million in dead money just 1 year into Allen's 3-year, $51 million contract. That tells you how serious the organization is about reshaping the defensive front. Now let's shift to the moves that didn't involve releasing players but instead restructuring contracts. And the biggest name here is none other than superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson. The Vikings restructured Jefferson's contract and created approximately $18 million in cap space. And Vikings fans, before anyone panics, let's be clear. This is not a pay cut. All this move does is convert some of Jefferson's base salary into signing bonus money, which spreads the cap hit across the remaining years of his deal. It's a common strategy teams use with franchise players, and since Jefferson is the face of the Vikings, this was an obvious decision. Another key player who had his contract restructured is left tackle Christian Darrisaw, which freed up around $9 million in cap space. Darrisaw remains one of the foundational players for the Minnesota Vikings offense. However, last season he dealt with lingering issues from a knee injury that originally occurred in 2024. Despite that, the team clearly believes in his long-term value. The hope inside the organization is that this offseason allows Darrisaw to fully recover and return to the dominant form that made him one of the best young offensive tackles in the NFL. The Vikings also restructured the contract of cornerback Byron Murphy Jr., which created about $11.3 million in additional cap space. Murphy has 2 years remaining on the deal he signed with Minnesota last offseason, and his performance justified the team's confidence. In fact, he was selected to the Pro Bowl in 2024, establishing himself as the Vikings' top cornerback. Keeping Murphy financially flexible while maintaining him as a core defensive piece is exactly the kind of move a smart front office makes when preparing for free agency. Finally, one of the most unexpected developments came with the retirement of veteran center Ryan Kelly. Kelly announced he is stepping away from the NFL after suffering his 4th, 5th, and 6th documented concussions during last season. After 10 years in the league, the health concerns clearly became too serious to ignore. From a football perspective, this means the Vikings will now need to find a new starting center. But financially, Kelly's retirement actually creates about $8.3 million in cap space, giving the Vikings even more flexibility as they approach free agency. So when you add everything up, the Minnesota Vikings have successfully climbed out of that $45 million salary cap hole. But here's the important part. Just getting under the cap isn't enough. The real goal for the Vikings front office is to create enough room to aggressively attack free agency and build a roster capable of competing in the NFC. And with these moves, they're getting closer to that goal. But now I want to hear from you, Vikings fans. Which move surprised you the most? Are you okay with the Vikings releasing veterans like Aaron Jones and Jonathan Allen? Or do you think the team is taking a risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this offseason is just getting started, and the Minnesota Vikings news cycle is about to get wild. And if you love staying updated on everything happening with the Minnesota Vikings, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with another Vikings fan. Because trust me, the next big move from the Vikings could happen at any moment. Skull, Purple Heart Fire.